Pest infestation? Call Bugman, because when you see red, bugs are dead.
Okay, we've been waiting on the Hokies. We're going to break down the Hokies. I've had people saying, when are you breaking them down? What do you think about them? Here they go. We're going to go with the Hokies. What do we know? What do we know about Virginia Tech going into 2025? Well, first of all, before we get into football, let's say this. Virginia Tech, you already won the offseason when you had the Metallica concert. If you did not go, you're bad. It was really, really good. It was once in a lifetime. I don't care if you've seen them 36 other times. I'm telling you, it was incredible. You missed it if you did not go. So that's on you. So Virginia Tech, you definitely win the offseason because of that. Now the bad part. So when I do these breakdowns, I usually start with the cons and then roll back into the pros. So in other words, I'm kind of like a military. I'm breaking you down and building you back up, right? So what do we know about the Hokies going in? Well, we know they lost 30 transfers. 30 transfers. Now, the good news is they bought 31 transfers in. I would not say that they are all on the same caliber as the 30 that you lost. In fact, the portal rankings would say that too. You are ninth in the portal in the ACC out of the 17 teams. So you're about midway. I think in some areas you're going to get better. I think the part that's going to hurt you is going to be the depth. So hopefully they stay healthy. Let's start with Brent Pry. I mean, this is his fourth year. I'm not saying it's a make it or break it year, but I have to feel that it's pretty close to that. And let's be honest. I mean, if you've been paying attention the last few days, the athletic director is up giving presentations about how far behind the athletic department is and needs to be in order to be successful. And I would agree, they're way down. So, Board of Visitors, I hope you pay attention. Stop building buildings, because you've built 400 buildings in the last 3 years, it feels like. Maybe take some time and throw it into the athletics here. You got 2 new coordinators. You got an offensive coordinator, Philip Montgomery, defensive coordinator, a young man by the name of Cephas. Let's start with Montgomery. So everybody seems to be high on Montgomery. You know, he's a quarterback guru and all that good jazz. And I'm not saying that he's not. He is a decent, good quarterback coach. But I think everybody needs to pump the brakes a little bit on the offensive coordinator part. Everybody wants to go right to Baylor when they talk about Philip Montgomery. Well, let's just be honest. Philip Montgomery was not the offensive coordinator at Baylor. He was, if you go look it up, he was co-offensive coordinator just about all of his time there. But keep in mind, there was a guy by the name of Art Briles that was the head coach. And if you remember, he was the offensive genius. He was the new Mike Leach coming in. In fact, he would be at a Power 5 program right now, a big-time Power 5 program, if he had not gotten into some trouble down there at Baylor. So I would say pump the brakes a little bit on him being an offensive coordinator. He left Baylor and went to become the head coach at Tulsa. He did okay. I mean, I think they had a couple good years. He left there, went to Auburn. They were terrible. The whole staff got fired after 1 year. And then he went to the USFL last year, and he was a little bit better. He is a decent quarterback coach, but you know he's not going to take drones and make him into RG3. Like that's who he had at Baylor. But you know the thing is this: like if you're having Heisman Trophy candidate players, they're not really being cut. Like a lot of that's athleticism, right? I I mean, there's some things about where to go with the ball and what to see and how to read and all that good jazz. But he's not going to turn Jones into RG3. I think where he's going to help is maybe slow the game down for Jones, maybe see things that he hadn't, and I think he's going to get the ball out of his hand quick and get it into the playmaker's hand. So I think you're going to see some short passes, quick passes, slants, out routes, and then they're going to pound the ball. Well, we know you lost on the offensive side of the ball. We know that you lost your running back, Tootin. You know, you lost quite a bit of wide receivers. You lost the entire offensive line. So where do we go? Well, I think you got a three-headed monster at running back coming in that will equal or do better than what you had last year in terms of running back productivity. I mean, Tootin was good, but he was, he was a one-man horse. And I think this year you're going to have a couple guys that can step into that spot. Keep in mind, Jones is once again the returning rushing leader on the team, and he missed 4 or 5 games there at the end. So the key is to keep him running and running strategically, not running to keep you in a game, I think. Wide receiver-wise, I think they're going to be a little bit better. I love Donovan Green, the kid from Wake Forest that's coming in. If he can stay healthy, I think he is a big-time get. He's legit. If you remember, if you're around the ACC back in 23, he had a spectacular year with Wake. So I think overall they might be a little bit better. Offensive line-wise, look, Virginia Tech rushed for a lot last year, but I'll just say this: it wasn't necessarily due to the offensive line. Like, there was a lot of run for your lifetime runs that gain yardage. So I think this offensive line will be a little bit better. The problem is they're inexperienced, and the way that schedule sets up, I don't know if that's good. Right out the box, I think over time they'll be okay. And again, the biggest thing is going to be depth and gelling, especially at that offensive line. I think you'll be at least equal to, if not better, on the offensive line. But it might take a few games, so that's something that needs to be said, because, you've got a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator, a brand new offensive line, all new running backs, and basically all new wide receivers. So, it might take a little time. Defensively, I love the defensive coordinator. Like, I have been a proponent of, this is a young man's game for years. Younger fella coming from Seattle. He was at Wofford before that. I saw an interview the other day, and his motto was play hard, hit hard. Love it. Absolutely love it. Play hard, hit hard. I used to coach a football team, and preseason wise, we would have like summer shirts, and I would run right now to the printer and get play hard, hit hard on the back of my shirts after I heard it. So I like that. What do you have to replace? I mean, Copeland in the middle is going to be good. Ben Bell is going to be a fan favorite. The kid from Texas State. I think he's got a motor. I think he'll get after some people. I don't know that he'll match, sack-wise last year, although I think he's going to be very tough. They're going to put him in spots where he can rush strategically. Linebackers, really good. Really good at linebackers. 2 really good linebackers. Secondary, that's a problem. It wasn't great last year, and now you're replacing basically everybody. So maybe that's a good thing. You brought in some people to change it up, and the way that he's going to play his secondary also might be a plus for Virginia Tech and their defense. The one thing I would say is you got 2 cornerbacks back there that are Two of them are 5'11". You got a nickelback that's 5'9". That's not good if you're playing a team that has some taller receivers. So that would scare me a little bit. I would say the biggest. I think these kids are they're buying in. I think so. Of the 31 transfers in, a lot of them were non-Power 5. And I think those kids tend to play with a purpose a little bit more. I think they play with a chip on their shoulder a little bit more. This has a feeling. I don't want to compare these kids and get all these high expectations, but that's what Frank Beamer did. Like, so for Virginia Tech, when Virginia Tech started being good under Frank Beamer, and hear me out, Virginia Tech fans, Beamer was not out coaching other coaches. He wasn't, drawing up X's and O's that were out dueling the other coaches. What he was doing was out developing kids, developing talent, taking kids. He was taking safeties and making them linebackers. He was taking wide receivers and making them ends. I mean, he was making tight ends, tackles. He was moving them around to the best spot for the team. So I think there's a little bit of that in this, I think, especially on the defensive side. He even said it in that interview the other day. He said, look, somebody asked him, like, what kind of defense you're going to run, and he said, I wanted to see my guys before I put together a defense. And I think that's smart. Like, you change up to what your kids can do best. So that's a plus, I think. Again, offensive line, I think over time will be good. Like I said, I love the Donovan Greed kid. There's another kid on the defensive line. He's played 46, I think, games. He was out at North Dakota State. That kid is really, really good. His name is Cody Hoosman. I think that will be a fan favorite. He kind of reminds you of some of the old school defensive linemen. He's from Iowa, good old Midwestern country boy, I think, been out in North Dakota, so this cold weather here in Blacksburg is not going to bother him. So from that standpoint, I think Virginia Tech has a chance to do a little bit better than they did last year, just because they had the injuries that they had. I will say this, and we're going to break down. We'll go look at the schedule here. Obviously, everybody knows they open with South Carolina. They're about a 10-point underdog, 10-point underdog. Depends on what that happens in the next 8-9 days. We'll see. I think that's going to be a tough game to win for Virginia Tech. I think South Carolina is good. I am one of the few that don't think South Carolina is where everybody else thinks they are. I think they take a step back on defense, and I think defense is what carried them at the end of the year last year when they caught momentum. Now, the quarterback is really good. Sellers at South Carolina is really good. I'll make a bold statement. I think Virginia Tech plays a decent game. I saw just today a mock game of this. It was on YouTube, but it was basically of the NCAA football game, and that game had South Carolina winning 44-20. I don't think it's that type of game, but I will say this: bold statement. I think the Vanderbilt game will end up being the tougher of the two games. And somebody's going to say, well, why would you say that? Well, you've had all offseason to prepare for South Carolina. So everybody is looking at what South Carolina did last year, what Sellers did good, what Sellers didn't do good, what they can attack on offense. Keep in mind that Montgomery's going to go fast. He's going to use up-tempo. Is everybody in good shape? What we're hearing out of Blacksburg is Jared Ferguson is running these guys to death to be in shape. So that's good for the Hokies. I think going in, I think they'll play good for the first 2 or 3 quarters. Depth might get them in that South Carolina game. Excuse me. But coming back the following week, hypothetically, let's say they lose to South Carolina. Let's say it's a 10-point game. They come home, first home game of the season, night game. Everybody's pumped. Everybody's ready. You're 0-1. You're staring 0-2 down in the middle of the face there, and now you got to perform. Well, I'll just be honest with you. Vanderbilt's defense is stout. This is going to be a very good defense that you're going to see from Clark Lee. In fact, just about every publication or video I've seen touts this defense. So I think defensively they're going to be tough. Offensively, they have Diego Pava back. They got the tight end back. They did do some portal. They got the portal in. I mean, they've got 15 starters back. So that's why I think that game might be a little bit harder, because you're coming off of a tough win. They're beating up on Charleston Southern, Vanderbilt. You're playing South Carolina. Your depth is already a little bit of a question. You're all in on the first game, and then you come up short. Then you got to turn around, come home. You got all that energy. Everybody's expecting you to win, and then now you got another tough team. So I also think you lose that Vanderbilt game. Now, I've seen a lot of people, especially on the fan sites, and this is almost 99%. This is the way that it's gone. We'll lose to South Carolina, but we'll definitely beat Vanderbilt. I'm not the one that thinks that. I think you go 0-2 to start. Now, stay with me. Stay with me. I don't know that those are two bad losses is where I'm going with this. They're not. First of all, neither one of them are in conference. That's good. Second of all, South Carolina will probably be ranked most of the season. That's a good loss. If Vanderbilt jumps back into the top 25, that ends up being a good loss. So I don't, just stay with me as we go down this schedule. I think you got Old Dominion. I think you win that. Then you have Wofford. I think you win that. You go to NC State. In the past, I would say, hey, this is a scary, sketchy thing. Be careful here. I think you win that. That's 3 in a row. So you're now 3-2. The next game is Wake Forest at home. I think you win that. You go to Georgia Tech. That's a question mark. We'll come back to that. The following week, you got Cal coming cross country. I think you win that. So right now you're 5-2. You're 5-2 through 8 games. Well, 9 games. We'll go back and talk about Georgia Tech in a minute. And then you finish up. This is a tough schedule. You finish up with Louisville, at Florida State, Miami, and at Virginia. So we know the over-under on win totals is 6.5. So I've gotten you to 5. All right. So I'm going to give you 6. I'm going to give you Virginia. So now you have to beat one of Georgia Tech, Louisville, Florida State, and Miami if you do not pull off a victory with Vanderbilt. If you pull the victory at Vanderbilt, I think you're probably looking at 8-4. Okay? In my scenario, you didn't beat Vanderbilt. So you're sitting at 6 wins. So which one of those do you got to beat? You got at Georgia Tech, Louisville, at Florida State, Miami. Well, at Georgia Tech I don't think is going to be as difficult as some people think. Now, historically, Tech gives them trouble down there. And they will definitely give them trouble again. But I think that's a winnable game. Louisville, I think Louisville's going to be very good. But it is at home. I think that's a winnable game. Excuse me. Then you have Florida State. You got to go to Florida State. But who knows by then what Florida State's going to be. Remember last year, they had won 2 games by this time last year. They quit. They quit on the guy, on Norvell. So I have you over the win total because I think you get one of Georgia Tech, Louisville. I would probably lean towards some people are going to think I'm crazy. I would leave towards Georgia Tech before I would leave towards Louisville, because I just think Louisville's skill positions are going to be a little much. Georgia Tech's probably going to be better on the line of scrimmage. But I think you get one of those. I think 7-5, 8-4 is where Virginia Tech ends up for the season. Now, unless there's injuries, okay, keep that in mind. And I would say the two scary things to me are this: injuries, because you don't have a lot of depth right now. Like, you got to build depth up. That's the one thing. The second thing I would say is, when does Brent Pry get scared for his job and start pulling people? If you're 0-2 going into the season, and let's say you lose to NC State, wow, you're 2-3. What does Brent Pry start doing? Does he say Jones is not our guy? Let's go to Watson. Does he say, hey, I'm calling the defense now? Cephas, you can still break down everything, but I'm calling it. That's the question. I mean, that's a good question to ask. I don't know that will happen, but I would say those are the two scary things to me. Is there's not a lot of depth. What happens if you get an injury here or there? And then secondly, does Pry decide to, cut bait and start trying to save his job if things start going bad? Hopefully it doesn't get there, but just something you got to bring up. Does he start panicking and start sitting players and all that good jazz? I think what they are doing is similar to they took kids that have a little bit of chip on their shoulder, that like the kid that's at Jackson State, wide receiver. I think he's going to be really good once he gets out there and he's running around. I mean, he had a lot of yardage there over at Jackson State. Those three running backs are not shabby. Stewart would have been over 1,000 had he not gotten injured. The kid from Coastal is really good. And Donovan Green, I'm telling you, Donovan Green is a top wide receiver if he stays healthy. I mean, he is really good. Defensively, like I said, I'm big on Bell. I think he'll be a fan favorite. I'm big on the defensive coordinator. I would say this. I mean, this is no disrespect to Bud Foster. He knows way more football than I know. But I would keep Bud Foster as far away from that team as I can. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that let the young guy run the young stuff. He's gonna go through growing pains, but let him run through the growing pains. And Pry and Bud Foster can kind of creep ahead and look at other games while they're concentrating on this game, that game, or maybe chime in here and there. But I don't want. If I'm a Tech fan, I don't want Bud Foster calling defense, and I don't want Brent Pry calling defense. We need Brent Pry worried about the end of the game, or you need Brent Pry worried about the end of the game, and not the defense, right? Because there was some questionable end of the game shenanigans, if you will, last couple of years, really. So that is my breakdown of Virginia Tech. I think. I think for the people that think, they're coming out of the woodworks, it's been quiet. This is a 9-10 win team, which I have seen on all of the fan YouTube pages. I would say pump the brakes. Montgomery, when I say that, I don't think he was a great offensive coordinator. He was good, but I don't think he wasn't the guy that was calling Baylor stuff. I don't want him to get all the credit for what Art Briles was doing. But you're going to see a lot of the Art Briles offense in this, and I think that's a good thing. Get rid of the ball, get it to the people that can make plays. Then strategically run drones off some play action. You got tight end, you got Benji coming back, Gosnell. He played well last year. I mean, his brother played well too. He's gone. Offensive line, I think, will gel. I think it's going to need a little time. But all in all, I think overall you're you're going to be better. You'll definitely have a better season than last year, in my opinion. I think you're looking at 7-5, 8-4. If you knock off Vandy, 8-4 is something I could see for sure. So that's all we have on Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech fans, I didn't hate on you. Feel free to leave your comments if you will, and we'll see you. I guess Thursday we're going to drop Virginia. We'll be on the radio tomorrow with Greg, the 20th, and stay with us. We're going to be dropping more podcasts as we go. So, thank you guys. Heathens, Kettle Corn, and Mobile Grill. You can find them at Dr. Pepper Park, local Roanoke events, and also now doing fundraising with teams, organizations, churches, etc. Find them on Facebook, Heathens, Kettle Corn, and Mobile Grill.